are listening to Pub Royalty Queen Podcast, a place to empower women of color in the music business. Welcome to another episode of Pub Royalty Queen Podcast. This is your host, Janisha Jones, back with another special guest, Terra Simon. Terra, I've had the pleasure of getting to know you while working at Cobalt Music Publishing in their coveted sync department, where you were sync clearance coordinator. She is well versed in the curious world of synchronization rights, which is one of the more lucrative sectors of the music industry, and she's become more like a sister to me. So I'm just very proud to have her on the show. Without further ado, Terra Simon, welcome to Pub Royalty Queen Podcast. How you feeling?
Hey, I'm feeling great. Sis, blessed to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the show, asking me to be a part of it. This is special. This is history right now.
Yes.
I'm on the first season.
Thank you. So let's just dive right in. Tell us about your journey through the music industry and what's led you to become sync clearance coordinator for Cobalt and your new role as well.
Well, I've always loved music. It's always been a passion of mine. I've been writing songs since I was young. So it's just in me. It's just in me. Music, I'm just a music lover, period. So when I got to college, actually, initially, I applied to be a business administration major. And truthfully, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I first went in there. I knew I was passionate about music. I was interested in the artist route, but at the time, truthfully, I didn't know how I was going to make that happen. It was in my path. What I just felt was just the natural progression for me to go to college. I was raised by a single Black woman who worked really hard to afford me, opportunities that I had, really great ones. And she put me in these really great schools. So once I was graduating from high school, it was just kind of like, okay, I have to go to college. Like that's just what it is for me. And even though I wasn't really passionate about school anymore, I was, to be honest, kind of over it. But I applied to be in the business school because, like I said, I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do. But after I got into the business school, I then started reading up on the music industry program within the school, and I wanted to change my major. But, my mom, she was helping me out with tuition, and she's an electrical engineer, just to set it up for you. So she doesn't really know like much about the music industry. So in her mind, she's like, all right, we're just gonna get you the money, So she was like, oh, I'm not really trying to support you in a music industry program, kind of like that. Yeah, she's like, you'd be much better if you just stick with business. Yeah, it was like that. And I wasn't thrilled at the time, but it was what it was. The great thing about it is that it obviously didn't stop me from being able to pursue a career in the music industry. So I was very fortunate to attend an internship fair, and that's how I got my first internship. It was actually through a recruiter at Dick Clark Productions, is what it was called.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was a Black recruiter, which was just like a bonus, truthfully.
Absolutely.
To be honest, so he brought me in for an interview, got a sense of my interests, and ended up meeting with the music clearance manager over there, and got the internship there. So from that point, my first internship, I had 6 or 7 other internships, mostly in the music industry, and a couple were in TV development. But most of my professional experiences have been in sync licensing. So yeah, this job that I just left at Cobalt, that's probably the most, I would say. Like, all my experiences have been significant, and I've learned from them, and I've been very fortunate to have worked at some of the places that I worked in. I even temped when I first graduated from college, so it's definitely an avenue I would encourage people to take if they're not sure exactly what they want to do, or if they feel like they're having a tough time breaking into, an industry somewhere. I had a few temp jobs as a music assistant, a production assistant,
Oh,
and
wow.
another assistant for a publicist for a short period of time as well. So, but all of those experiences have led me to where I am now. So
Hmm.
I'm really grateful. I was at Cobalt for over 3 years and really learned so much more than I did know before about the sync licensing business and especially about clearance. Sorry, at Cobalt, I was negotiating sync deals. And so now at my new job, working for Amazon Studios, I won't be clearing music anymore, but the experiences that I had at Cobalt and the skills that I developed, I'll be able to take that to my new role at Amazon Studios as a music contract administrator. And in that position, really I'll have ownership of the licensing process. Basically, I'll be supporting two music licensing managers who clear for all the promos and trailers for Amazon Prime content. So I'll be
That's
supporting.
amazing.
Thank you, sis. So yeah, I'll be supporting them and basically overseeing music licenses and cue sheets, making sure people are getting paid on time, and working with new vendors as well. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
just loving seeing your career bloom because I do recall, having worked with you at Cobalt, some of the challenges in the spaces. We both had challenges at Cobalt, but like you said, it definitely gave us both opportunities to grow, enhance our skill set because it was run like a smooth run oil machine. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it really was, the workflow was impeccable there. And then on top of that, we both worked for a woman of color in the
Mhm.
sync department who's,
Right.
just killing it in the game right now.
Killing it.
Like, and
Killing it.
just to be able to watch her and learn from her has been a blessing as well. So kudos to you for the growth and persevering, even though, mom didn't see it. I bet you see it now though. I bet you see
Yeah.
it now though.
Yeah. She sees. She's on board. She's on board now. Well,
Yes.
thank you.
Shout out to moms. So have you had any mentors in the music arena, and how crucial were they to your growth in this music business?
Well, I mean, you just brought it up. You didn't say her name, but Jeanette Perez at Cobalt Music, right? President of Cobalt, woman of color.
Yes.
She, I would say, has definitely been a mentor for me, and I'm super grateful for all the time that she shared with me and her knowledge because yeah, she's brilliant, right?
Yes.
So, and to even get some of her time, I consider that to be a privilege because
Yeah.
she's so busy and wears so many hats. So I've definitely learned from her, just viewing her as a leader, someone that really and truly cares about what they're doing, but not just the job, but the actual people that work
Yes.
under them. That's so really important to nurture your staff, right? And to make them feel
Definitely.
like they're valued and that their opinions matter. And so I think Jeanette did a great job doing that for her team, and she's a great
Hmm.
people manager. So I definitely admire her and what she's done. She's always been very supportive of me and willing to help out. And I think that's so important as well. If you are in a position of power, reaching out to other people and helping them, come up. That's awesome. That's admirable to me. That's the type of person, that type of leader that I hope to be as well. So
Yes.
Jeanette is definitely one of them. And I've had, I would say, two other women in this industry have been instrumental in my career. One, her name is Rebecca Rink. She was a former music supervisor. She was at NBC Universal
Hmm.
at the
Hmm.
time, and I interned for her while I was in college. I mean, she's very intelligent. All the women that I'm speaking about are passionate individuals and they're hardworking and they know their stuff. And she actually told me, prior to the internship ending, she was just very honest. She was like, listen, like, if you want to keep in touch, like, this relationship benefits you more than it does me. So, you got to make
Just
sure
keeping
that,
it real.
yeah, yeah. So she's like, reach out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did. I think that's so important. It's really
Yeah.
valuable to like keep that in
Crucial.
mind. and she's helped me get multiple jobs, or at least an interview, like in looks,
Wow.
just by keeping
Yes.
in touch with her. So I
Research.
appreciate, yeah, I appreciate her so much. And then there's one other woman. Her name is Paige Parsons. I worked for her at my last company. As you know, she's a VP of A&R over there, and she was just always available. You know, if I wanted to talk or like I had
Mhm.
something to say, she would listen. She asked for my opinions, and it just felt really nice to be respected, like treated as a valuable member of the team. So, shout out to all of those
Definitely.
women. I appreciate them, and yeah,
Yes.
really great.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna give testament to Jeanette's leadership because, like you said, she was definitely a people's leader. Like I remember being in boardrooms with her, she would take ownership of mistakes are made by the team as a whole. Like she takes it on. She looks at all of us as her children. I remember her saying like, "Y'all are my kids." Like, and that's kind of how you want a leader to embrace you in the company, is to make you feel special and let you know that you're valuable and what you're doing is extremely important to the end goal. She's incredible. Like you said, she makes
Right,
time for you, which
right,
she don't got no time like that.
right, right,
She makes the time to sit down with about anything. And
right.
one of the most valuable lessons that she told me in the very beginning of knowing her, she said, closed mouths don't get fed. You ask
Mm,
for what you want.
right,
And
right.
I've been listening to that ever since. Ever since.
Good,
That's
good.
yeah, she's a shout out to Jeanette because she's brilliant and just a shooting star out here, like in the sync world, especially. But at Cobalt, they're very lucky to have her. There are a lot of challenges that are unique to women of color in this industry. Can you describe for us one specific challenge that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, Pam, I think as a Black woman, there will always be there's like a heightened sense of uncertainty that unfortunately we have
Mm,
to carry as we like navigate through this industry. And because you don't know, like you want to believe that everyone has the best intentions for you. Like, and
mm-hmm.
no one's racist, no one's discriminatory, like whether consciously or unconsciously. But that's unfortunately we don't live in that type of world. So I think it's a challenge that comes from learning how to be okay with that and learning
Mm,
to push forward anyway, in spite of having to be concerned about whether or not you're going to be discriminated against because you're a woman or because you're a Black woman or a
that,
woman of color, something like that. So that can cause a lot of anxiety and stress. But I think for me, it's just been really important to one pray. Like prayer is huge for me, like
yes,
just realizing that I come from God, like I'm in this position for a reason. I have purpose here. I think true promotion comes from the Lord. So it's like you can,
yes.
if you want to block my blessings, you can try, but
You
like
might lose.
God, right, right. I think God's got this one. And for me, it's just deciding that I'm going to go after what I want, period. And
Yes.
it's like goes back to like what you were saying that Jeanette said, like closed mouths don't get fed. So yeah, you have to advocate for yourself, and yeah, it's nice to give people the benefit of the doubt. Most people I'm sure they do have really great intentions. Like I said, you can never really be 100% sure. Like if something doesn't like say, I don't know, like, or if you feel like you've been slighted in some way, I think you
Right.
can tough
Hard to
some.
prove.
Right, right, yeah, right. It can be tough, and it's like I think you kind of run the risk of even like gaslighting yourself because it's like, am I overreacting in this situation,
That's
or is this
such a
really like
word.
a problematic behavior that needs to be called out? So it's things like whoever feels slighted or disrespected or whatever or mistreated in any way, it is important to vocalize that and to say it. But I think that Black women and women of color, for them to do that, it can be a scary experience because you're not sure of what the repercussions will be. And you look around and we're out here, but we're not super, super out here. So yeah, it just becomes tough in that sense. But like I said, I believe in God. I believe in my abilities, my skills, my talents. So whatever's gonna happen, I believe everything's working out for my highest good, sis. That's at the end of the day.
Amen.
Yes.
That's such a word, but like back to what you were saying about the anxiety aspect of it, I think a lot of it too is that Black women, we feel like we still have so much to prove when we do step into those spaces. Like we've talked about this many times about
Hmm.
being overworked or having
Right.
to like go above and beyond all
Right.
the time, like regardless of what responsibilities you have, regardless of how long your commute is to get to work or
Hmm.
back,
Right.
like how much time. And I know the sync world is one that you don't sleep. Like it's a 24-hour job, like, and everything's urgent.
Right. That is true. Right.
So you're
Yeah.
you're literally sometimes taking your work with you. So the anxiety of having to not really part with work and it being your like part of your identity as well. And then as a Black woman, continuously having to like, you know, like I said, just continue to go above and beyond the expectation. That's a
Hmm.
lot to take on. It's a lot of a big responsibility,
Right.
because you feel like downfall is going to fall your shoulders and carry to the next Black person that they hire.
Right.
It's tough to the
Right.
whole and not just yourself. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into that. What was your mama I made it moment? What was the moment that you realized that you made it, you're on the right track, and what characteristics do you attribute to having gotten to that point?
Well, I think I'd go back to honestly that story I told you about how my mom wasn't initially on board with me, even studying the music industry and not necessarily like try to stop me from having a career in the music business,
Mhm.
but it wasn't, like I said, something she was actively like promoting and advocating for either. So I think
Mm.
the my mama I made it moment is it doesn't have to do with like material success or anything. It really came when I was able to lock down that first internship as a music clearance intern at Dick Clark Productions because I was studying business and I wasn't sure. I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to, work in
Mm.
the music industry. So, but thankfully, me getting out there and networking and attending internship fairs, it paid off. So I
Mhm.
think it's really about perseverance, taking a chance, even
Mhm.
when you're not sure if you even have the qualifications, if someone's gonna give you that shot. Because I was nervous. I was like, I don't have any experience either. How am I even gonna get like someone to take a chance on me, especially in this music business? I have literally no experience. I had like some, I think I
You
had some
gotta
like high
start
school.
somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Internships where
true.
you
But I
start.
think with me, like that's very true. But I was just like, it just seemed like a lot of the job descriptions or internship descriptions that I'd been reading,
Mm.
indicated that they wanted someone with like prior experience or
How
prior
does that
internship.
word play? How
Well,
play?
right. Right. That's why I was like, oh man, how am I gonna work this out? But thankfully, Dick Clark Productions, they took a chance on me. And once I was in there, once I got that first internship, I just knew I'd be able to build on that from there. Like I have this one experience, cool, we can get another one. We can
Yes.
lock in another one. It's gonna be okay.
Yes.
That's what
It's
I would
that
feel.
initial foot in the door. Like,
Right.
I
Exactly.
understand that. What did you do when you found out you got the internship? Did you celebrate or?
I don't recall specifically. I know I was super happy though. I was probably like frantically, like and ecstatically thanking God and like
Yes.
super super blessed to have it. And it was a great internship. I got to work on award shows and attend award shows too.
Oh,
Like
that's amazing.
right, that's a thing. It was a unpaid internship. It was an unpaid internship, and truthfully, I don't really care for unpaid internships. I think interns should be compensated, especially since like not everybody has the luxury of taking
Right.
an unpaid job.
Yes.
Okay. So for me, truthfully, thankfully I was in a position to where I could do that. But I
Hmm.
know that there are other people of color that don't have it. So,
It's a
kind
fact. No, that's something that I spoke with one of the very first interviews of this podcast. We were talking about all the sacrifices that go into just getting your foot in the door And if it's
Right.
an unpaid situation, you're having to buy a train ticket or a bus ticket or have lunch money or
Right.
go to the networking event and you don't want to show up busted. You got to look good when you go
Right.
to the stores. Like, so, and the
Right.
membership fees and things like that, like if you're just starting out and you're trying to network and you're joining these organizations, it's not cheap to break into the industry.
Exactly. That's a
So
very good point. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
lot, but like you said, we were blessed to have that opportunity and have the support that we needed to get through it. But then also I think there's a thin line too. Some people stay at internships for like a year, 2 years. It's like, bro, you gotta learn when to bounce because you're giving them free work.
Right. Exactly. Like if it's an unpaid internship and you're there more than 3 months, I'm like, ah.
At some point it's like you're stopped learning and you've actually acquired a skill that you can actually add
Right.
value to yourself and ask for your
Right.
change. Like
Exactly. Exactly. So I mean, great for all the students out there or whoever is interning who has it like that, and they can take those unpaid internships and be fine. But no, like
yeah.
in general, like internships should be paid, period.
Not for
That's
me, dog.
no, no, no. I had like one, I think, because I actually ended up staying at Dick Clark. I had two internships there, music clearance internship and then a TV development internship. So I was there
Mm.
for 2 semesters, like
Mhm.
unpaid, but
Mhm.
those were my last unpaid internships. Like
Yeah.
after that, it was like, okay, now I need to get some money. Like, I
Yeah.
need to get some money. I'm doing the work, like you said, like, and
Mhm.
I'm valuable here. So
Right.
let's go.
Right. There we
Yeah.
go. And I
Yeah.
think it's also important if you're in an internship that they're actually teaching you something and you're not just like a gopher. Like,
That
yes,
part.
humble yourself and go do the little things too.
Right.
But at the same time, sit down with your supervisor, see what it is that they're working on, and see if there's a way that you can tap into making their lives a little easier, whether it's helping to answer the phone call for them. Well, maybe not. I don't know. It depends on what you do.
Yeah.
I'll take that back. Don't answer no phone calls. That's an intern. Just
Right.
don't
Unless
do
it's in
that.
the job description, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. The little
right.
things that make their lives a little bit easier. You see
Right.
that they usually drink coffee in the morning. Ask if they want the coffee. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like the
Right.
little thing. And then they'll be more than happy to sit down with you and teach you a little something here and there.
Yeah. Yeah. More than likely. Yeah. That's a great way to do it. Yeah. You really just have to consider the value at the end of the day. Like I was happy about those internships, even though they were unpaid, because I learned a lot and
Yeah.
I met some great people that
Yeah.
I'm still in touch with today. So,
The networking opportunity is there for sure.
right. Right.
So, if there was one thing that you could have done differently in regards to pursuing your career, whether it was like you mismanaged or you just weren't at the right place at the right time, whatever the situation was, what would
Yeah.
it have been?
Yeah. Well, I would say just in general, I'm happy with the way my career trajectory has gone thus far. I'm really grateful to have had the experiences th- that I've had. I would say that my own belief in myself and my confidence, it was much lower than it is today before, like
Mm-hmm.
back then when I was even in college. So if I had a greater sense of self-worth at the
Mm,
time, I would have allowed myself to take advantage of more opportunities that I was presented with. And for example, that could be a networking event or
mm-hmm.
whatever, some type of event where, maybe I didn't show up because I wasn't feeling like confident in myself and in my
Mm,
abilities, and obviously, thankfully I have learned, since then and have really developed a greater sense of self-worth and love for myself and belief in my skills and abilities. But yeah, for a long time, it was different and it was not like that. And, I think
mm-hmm.
today I'm like, wow, truthfully, like, humbly speaking, like I've accomplished quite a bit,
Fuck
like,
your shit, girl. We ain't
right,
humble
but
on this
like,
podcast.
girl, I
We
was just
going
like,
there.
yeah, yeah, but I had accomplished a significant amount just, and that's with like not even really believing in myself that much. I'm sorry to curse, but if I could just imagine like what could happen or what I could possibly do, like what if like I really did believe in myself? What if I was just like
Yes.
allowed myself to go for what I want in life and I was
Yes.
unapologetic about it? Like how much further could I get then? What could I accomplish then?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's for me, I think that's been just the biggest battle has just been within, like because
Wow.
if you're right within, then you can handle any external happenings to you. So
That's a fact. That's
once I
like a
yeah.
Lauryn Hill bar right there. How you gonna win when you ain't right within? Like it starts from
Ooh,
inside. You gotta know. You gotta know
exactly.
that you got it. You got you. And even if you don't have all the tools and the knowledge and the skills, like people get
Mhm.
by with much less than what you're
Right,
offering. So
right.
just do it. Just fucking
Exactly.
do it. I wish
Exactly.
that we did. I know that it comes from a bigger scenario reason why we do limit ourselves and minimize ourselves and our accomplishments. I know that's coming from something that we don't control necessarily.
Right.
But once you do come to the revelation that, hey, like I worked hard, I earned my space here, you should have now the confidence to step into the room and be like, take ownership of that.
Right. Right.
I remember going back to our mentor,
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
asked her, I said, at one time, I was like, hey, I get a little anxious when I go into these rooms with these supervisors because I don't know them. Like, I don't know them. Like,
Right.
and she's like,
Right.
do you think I know everybody? She said, you know how I do? She said, I am the person that knows the most about what I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the best at what I do. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how I can walk into the room. And
Right.
ever since, it's just a gem. Like,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Right.
I
Yeah.
know. Not everybody knows about publishing. Not everybody
Right.
knows about sync. Not everybody knows about royalties. Those are
That part.
things that I am skilled at. So I can just go in the room and own that. Yeah,
Right.
you want to know about how to get your money? You want to know how to talk to the
Right.
supervisor, get your stuff played on the not the radio, but the films and commercials and television, all of that. That's
Mm-hmm.
your lane. That's your
Right.
lane. Like,
Right.
so
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so important to affirm yourself. Yeah, all of what you said, and yeah, wholeheartedly agree. For me, that's was really a game changer for me.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that.
Right. Thanks, sis.
So anytime. So what are some common misconceptions that people have about women of color in the music industry?
Yeah. Well, honestly, in general, I think women just run the risk of being seen as less capable or
Mm.
intelligent sometimes and emotionally weaker than
Mm.
men are. Unfortunately, that's the case, and it's not even limited to the music industry. That's just
Right.
that's
That's
just
any
society.
industry.
Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
yeah,
Fair.
that's the way it is. And unfortunately, when you're black or you're a woman of color, then there's that racial aspect into it in there as well. So we have even more to be concerned about. So, obviously, we know that we're intelligent and
Mhm.
we're more than capable of, doing our
Mhm.
jobs and doing them well, and
Mhm.
beyond that. So, no, those are definitely misconceptions, I would say. I think it's a misconception that it's like it can kind of feel like we're competing with each other, I think sometimes. And because, like, as mentioned before, like, there aren't that many of us. Like, we're out here, we're doing our thing, but at the same time, it feels like it can feel like at certain times there's only space for like so many
Right.
of us. Like, so right,
Too
but
many
that's
attitudes in one room. I'm sorry, they're
right,
not able to handle it.
right. Right, like, that's we have that one diversity hire. We're yeah,
Womp womp.
Right, yeah, exactly. So obviously that's not the case. We shouldn't be like competing amongst each other, and we should all be embraced
Mhm.
for what we can bring to the table individually.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that unfortunately I think, like, when you are one of the few Black people or people of color in the room, sometimes your opinions, your as an individual, like the people will take that and they'll apply it to like the collective. Oh, like she
Yeah.
thinks this way, so that's how all Black women think. Like, oh,
Yeah.
in her experience, like, yeah, that's just how it is for most of them, or like all of them, right? Something like that. Wild out of pocket stuff, right? Things that they wouldn't attribute to like themselves, like you were
Right.
saying. So that's unfortunate. That's
Those are
and
great, yeah, sadly, I mean, not great, tropes that are attributed to women of color, and sadly, the things that we have to deal with pitting ourselves against each other is it's a systemic thing, definitely a systemic thing. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of times too, like you said, they do think that we're monoliths, that we all think the same.
Right,
So
right,
they'll apply the same concepts to one person, and the other person will look at them like, huh? That ain't my
right,
life.
right. Exactly, exactly. And like, can you just see me and appreciate me for the person that I am? I don't like feeling like, and this is not even just the workplace. Like, this was happening to me in school because for the
Mm-hmm.
majority of my academic career, I attended primarily white schools.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm used to being like talking about race and people looking around at the one Black girl in the class, being like, "So, what are you gonna say? What are your thoughts on?
Right.
What are your thoughts on this?"
You're the token now. Like you have to
Right,
speak up on behalf of everyone
right,
that
and
looks like you.
it's not fair. It's not fair, and that's a lot of pressure. I don't want that responsibility, okay? Because
Mm-hmm.
my thoughts on a situation might not be your thoughts, and your thoughts might be better than mine. So it's like
Mm.
if you're gonna generalize someone, like maybe just do it off of of you. You have the better,
Right.
like if you have the better idea. Like ideally, that's not gonna happen, but it does,
And it's
unfortunately.
also part of the judgment of women and their appearance too. Like, oh, you come into the like we wear braids. We've worn braids in the office, and I remember being asked or being like someone commenting about my hair, and I'm like, that doesn't affect my job and what I do at all. Like, why does that matter that I come to work every other week with a different hairstyle?
Right, exactly. And oh my gosh, we could really talk about some hair, girl. Like, girl, like I don't know if there's ever been, well, I'd say maybe post college, I was kind of like, you know what, whatever, because as you can see, I have some, it might be a little hard, but I have some purple braids in right now. And
That's your
I had,
signature.
yeah, yeah, I had purple braids during my Cobalt interview. So part of me was nervous, like, oh
Oh,
man, like what,
are you
I
going to
mean,
be judged?
right, right. And like I just got my hair done. I'm definitely not about to take it out. So
They
we'll
gonna
just
get these purple braids today.
right. So it's like either you want me or you don't. And I used to really worry about that, be concerned about how my hair was when I was in college and interning. But I've since just to come to terms with, like, if you are not going to hire me because of like my hairstyle, then yeah, I don't need to be working here anyway. You know what I'm saying? And it
Mm-hmm.
goes back to what I said before, like whatever's for me will be. You know, God is really in control at the end of the day. So I think it's
Mm-hmm.
just so important for us to be able to embrace who we really are, and
Yes,
like our physical appearance should not dictate or what we're able to accomplish. Like,
fact.
yeah, so no, girl,
That's
it's
a
a
fact.
yeah,
It's just so interesting, all the things that we do have to go through. But I think the
right,
consensus around the board has been that, like, it doesn't matter what I look like. Just let me do my job. Let me prove that I can do what I'm hired to do, and let the work speak for itself.
exactly. There it
So
is. Could all be so simple, right?
yes. Shout
uh,
out to Lauren Hill.
right. all day.
So in what ways can women advocate for one another? Like we said, we are taught to compete against one another, but what are ways that we can reach across the table and lift each other up?
Yeah. Well, for one, I think it's important to champion each other, support each other, especially if one of our sisters has a podcast about women of color in the music industry. It's important to participate in that.
Shout
What
out to
else?
Pub Royalty Queen podcast.
Hey,
Episodes airing every Friday.
yes. No, but also, yeah, it's super important to just to be there for one another. I had a client that I worked with at Cobalt. She's a music supervisor. She's a Black woman. She's up for 2 new projects. She reached out to me to ask if I could, provide a testimonial for her to help her out, and I gladly did so. One, I did so first and foremost because I just enjoyed working with her. Like it's really just like a plus that she's also a Black woman, and so that just made me just more
Even
excited.
more motivated.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. Because we have to help each other out here, and we can't just bank on others accepting us and embracing us and helping us develop. You know, ultimately there are good people of all race, tell you
Yes.
that, but
Yes.
when it comes to us, it's important that we support our ventures and our, like events and programs and all that. I think it's also really important to have discussions surrounding mental health, especially
Say it.
for like Black women and women of color. I was just reading recently in an article that stated that Black women are particularly at high risk of high functioning depression because we're
Carry the
taught
weight on our shoulders.
right, we have
And no
so
one's
much.
coming to our rescue.
Right. Exactly. And we're told that we have to be strong and just like suck it up, and we should really like be happy to be in the space because there really aren't, many of us in the spaces that we're in. So I think there's that added pressure there of the pressure that we put on ourselves sometimes just to be extra, like you were saying earlier, just to go above and beyond. And yeah, that's a lot. That's a
It
lot
is.
for us to carry, and then we're just expected to act like we're all good, and it's fine. Otherwise, we risk being seen as that aggressive type or a problematic individual, right? And then it goes even back to like what we were discussing before about people generalizing Black people. And it's like, oh, well, if this person is difficult, well, maybe then this diversity hire wasn't
Right.
like the best,
Let's go back to the old plan.
right, right, or maybe this
We've
was
clearly messed up here.
right, yeah, exactly, and that's just it's tough, man. And Black Americans, specifically, many of us have internalized like the negative attributions assigned, to our enslaved ancestors. It's like we're dealing with like generational trauma here, whether like consciously or unconsciously. So it's really important that we're having these conversations and really just finding outlets to express ourselves, like yeah, like
Yes.
we're doing now. So
That was
it's
such a word. You definitely dropped some gems up in there. I appreciate you for saying all of that because it's true. There's a lot that we have to deal with. There's a lot that we carry, and then what bothers me, or not necessarily bothers me, but I kind of struggle with the idea of being labeled as strong because then you're like, okay, what's the opposite of strong is weak, right? We all have our moments of weakness. We're human.
right,
I don't
right,
want to every day be considered as like, oh, she'll be fine. She's done this before. She's been through this before. So she's pulled through. So she's fine. Of course, we're headed into depression, and every time we're going through something, someone's like, oh, she's strong. Like,
right,
okay, yeah, I want to be strong.
Right. Right. Yeah,
But I'm
exactly.
feeling vulnerable right now. I'm feeling a little insecure. I'm feeling a little down. Like there's things that's going on in my life, and you just want to see this one side. Of course, that's a great thing to be labeled as a strong woman, but I think Black women being labeled as strong sometimes has a negative connotation to it. And it impacts us on a deeper level than someone just being labeled strong because they went through cancer and now they're cancer free. Like that's something completely different than
Right.
having experienced microaggressions aggressions every single day and not saying anything about it and be
Right.
labeled, oh, you're strong. I want to punch them in the face.
Right. Right.
That's what I really want to do. But
Exactly.
I'm being strong right now, strong willed.
Right. Right. It's like I don't right. It's like, yeah, it's important to be strong. There's a pro in it, but then the con is like, I'm tired. Like I don't like, oh my gosh. I just want to be able to express myself without fear of the negative repercussions and
Yeah.
then being automatically seen as weak. It's like you're either
Right.
strong or oh you can't handle it. Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough out here, sis.
And it's
It's
hard to ask for help. I think that's another thing is
mm,
that Black
that part.
women, we don't tend to ask for help for nothing
Right,
because
right, right.
we are disappointed all over the place. So we tend to carry the burden on our own. And so the idea of being strong, being able to carry a burden and not ask for help is a problem. It's a part of our generational trauma that we
Right.
need to learn to let go and actually say, you know what, I need some help over here. I'm drowning. I need some
Yes.
help. Like I'm like you said, exhausted. You know?
Exactly. Yep.
I
Agree.
always admired since I was like I went to predominantly white school growing up as well, and I always admired how white women can have friends growing up and still rely on that same social circle as they get older. I feel
Mm,
like yes, I have my one or two really close girlfriends that I grew up with that are ride or dies no matter what, they're always going to be by my side. But
yeah.
I also feel like it's harder for us to connect on that way sometimes as we're older. And
Yeah.
having a podcast like this and having networking opportunities to like reach out and say, girl, like, how are you doing? Like aside from work, girl, like, are you good? You
Right.
know,
Right.
I
That's
know you got a
important.
kid, you want a babysitter one day so you could just relax. Sis, I
Yeah.
know that you're working hard, but I know that you want to be in the studio. I know somebody that needs a track right now. Let me go ahead and
Mm,
plug you in. You know what I
that
mean?
part. Yes. 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 Yes.
Just like little things like helping each other to really grow and navigate the world and our feelings and just say like there's somebody there for you. It's so
Right.
important.
Right.
It's so important.
Absolutely. Agree. 100%.
So Sarah, I really, really, really appreciate you for being on the show. Like I said, I just love watching you grow. Like I know that we're still gonna, we've been keeping in touch for years now, but we're gonna continue to keep in touch and make sure that we're on the up and up. You know, you got a sister in me,
Yeah.
and I just appreciate you all day. What can we expect from you, Terra, in the future, and what are you working on now that you're excited about?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about the new job that I'm starting at Amazon Studios. Super excited to see what I can do over there and how I can contribute meaningfully to the team. I'd say just also in my free time, I still, like I said earlier, I like to write and write songs, make music.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's I'm also working on some music now, and definitely plan on releasing later this year. So I'm excited about that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Maybe
But
we'll change our theme song to one that you wrote.
hey, it's hey,
See? See what I
ain't
did
not
there?
the word. Oh man, fire! Thank you so much for having
Of
me.
course.
It's been awesome. Really,
Where
really.
can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah. Well, honestly, if you want to connect, probably the best place would be LinkedIn. Searching my name, Terra Simon, and you'll be able to find me. Shouldn't be difficult. I have an Instagram, but being real, I don't post all that much. But if you want to follow me, you can search at TJ Crown Up, all one word there. But yeah, so that's pretty much that.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, Terra. Thank you so much for being on the show. Until next time.
Remember, stay positive, inspired, and true to yourself. Go out there and kill it. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time on Pub Royalty Queen Podcast.